Good morning all. Today's topic is guided tissue regeneration. I have made this lecture for final year BDA student. Important questions are there on the screen. Now discussing introduction. Regenerative periodontal therapy comprise procedures that are specially designed to restore those parts of tooth supporting apparatus that has been lost due to periodontitis. So in regeneration, we will be discussing about how to restore the tooth supporting apparatus that has been lost due to periodontal disease. Now coming on to the important terminology. Regeneration. Regeneration is a natural renewal of structure produced by growth and differentiation of new cell and intercellular substance to form new tissue or part. Reattachment. It refers to the repair in area of root not previously exposed to the pocket. That means reattachment takes place on a healthy tooth, such as after surgical detachment of tissue or following traumatic tear in cementum, tooth fracture or treatment of periapical lesion. Repair. It simply restores the continuity of diseased marginal gingiva and re-establish a normal gingival sulcus at the same level on the root as the base of the pre-existing periodontal pocket. So repair take place on an infected tooth, and what we want to restore? We want to restore the continuity of diseased marginal gingiva. Now new attachment. Altogether new attachment. New attachment, it is the embedding of new periodontal ligament fiber into new cementum and attachment of gingival epithelium to a tooth surface previously denuded by disease. That means on infected tooth. Now, what are various outcomes of regenerative surgery? Ideal outcome that we want is new attachment. That means we want new cementum, new periodontal ligament attachment to the infected tooth surface. But it's not always possible to get new attachment. Other possibilities are healing with long junctional epithelium, ankylosis of bone and tooth with resultant root resorption, recession, recurrence of pocket, or any combination of these. So if periodontitis is there, and once we are done with the scaling and root planning and we do regenerative surgery, so first ideal outcome is new attachment. That means new periodontal ligament is formed, new cementum, new bone is being formed, and gingival sulcus is restored back to the normal position. But epithelial is having faster rate of growth potential as compared to other. It will proliferate fast and long junctional epithelium will form, but it is vulnerable to breakdown. Root resorption, if bone formation exceed, and recurrence of pocket. Only when the cell from periodontal ligament proliferate coronally, then there is formation of new cementum and periodontal ligament. Non-bone graft associated new attachment. How we try to achieve this regeneration? By removal of junctional and pocket epithelium, as I have already discussed in my last lecture. Next is prevention of epithelial migration that we will be discussing today. We will achieve this prevention of epithelial migration by coronally advanced flap, guided tissue regeneration, and by root preparation or root modification that I will be discussing in my next lecture. In this lecture, I will be discussing coronally advanced flap and guided tissue regeneration. Now, prevention of epithelium migration. Elimination of junction and pocket epithelium may not be sufficient because epithelium from excise margin may rapidly proliferate to become interposed between the healing connective tissue and the cementum. Let's see how. This is the root surface, enamel. This is osseous defect. And now let's see Once we have excised the epithelium tissue, the rate of proliferation of epithelium is really very fast. It will not let fibroblast from the periodontal ligament to proliferate. And this is a schematic diagram that I have made to clear the concept how epithelium is dividing really fast and it take over the growth of fibroblast from periodontal ligament tissue or from any other connective tissue or bone. So we will be discussing how we can prevent this epithelium. Now, prevention of epithelium migration. By we can achieve epithelium migration by coronally advanced flap, guided tissue regeneration and root biomodification. So in this lecture we will be discussing how we will prevent epithelium from proliferating in the defect and how we can help the fibroblast from the periodontal ligament tissue to proliferate and make new periodontal ligament fiber, new cementum and new bone. Let us see how we can achieve this. By coronal displacement of flap. It's an approach to delay epithelial migration into the healing pocket area by coronal displacement of flap by increasing the distance between epithelium and healing area. Let's see how we can increase the distance between epithelium and healing area. We'll give incision in the gingival sulcus and will displace the flap and suture it slightly coronally. This was the original position and now we have displaced it coronally and now we will be preventing the epithelium to migrating into the defect area. Next is guided tissue regeneration. It consists of placing a barrier of different type to cover the bone and periodontal ligament. So we will be placing a barrier to cover the bone and periodontal ligament, thus temporarily separating them from the gingival epithelium. We will be putting a barrier to separate the bone and periodontal ligament from the gingival epithelium. Now coming on to the definition. According to American Academy of Periodontology, guided tissue regeneration is defined as procedure by which a barrier is utilized to exclude epithelium from the root surfaces. In 1996, World Workshop in Periodontic defined GTR as a procedure attempting to regenerate lost periodontal structures through differential tissue response. And let's see what is differential tissue response. The biological concept of guided tissue regeneration was given by Melcher in 1976. And according to the hypothesis, only periodontal ligament cell, only periodontal ligament cells, they have potential to regenerate. So if we'll place a barrier membrane, this green in color, I have tried to show that if it's a barrier membrane and this will exclude gingival epithelium from underlying periodontal ligament and the surface of bone. So this concept of Melcher, according to this concept, if barrier is placed between epithelium and underlying periodontal ligament and if we give some time for periodontal ligament to heal, then only regeneration is made possible. So what is important in the history of guided tissue regeneration? First is in Melcher in 1976 who gave the concept, and then Nyman was the first investigator to try barrier membrane in human in 1982. Gottlob coined the term guided tissue regeneration, and in 1982 polytetrafluoroethylene membrane was introduced. Indication. I'll be explaining in detail various indications of guided tissue regeneration. It's used in narrow 2 to 3 wall defect, grade 2 furcation, ridge augmentation, root coverage, osseous fill around immediate implant, and repair of osseous defect around failing implant, repair of apicectomy defect. This is an infrabony defect in which the base of the defect lies apical to the osseous wall. So first of all we'll fill the defect with the bone graft and then we'll place a membrane in order to exclude the gingival epithelium from this healing area. So first indication is 2 to 3 wall defect. Next is grade 2 furcation. If grade 2 furcation is there, cul-de-sac is there, then we'll place the bone graft and then we'll put the guided tissue regeneration membrane. Ridge augmentation. If thin atrophic ridge is there, then we'll place the guided tissue regeneration so that new bone is formed. Root coverage. If recession is there, then we'll cover the recession with guided tissue regeneration and then suture the flap. Osseous fill around immediate implant placement or repair of osseous defect around failing implant. If some osseous defect is there around the implant, then also we can use the guided tissue regeneration membrane. Repair of episectomy defect. In the region of episectomy, if we will place the graft and after that we can put the guided tissue regeneration membrane. Contraindication of guided tissue regeneration. General surgical contraindication. Generalized horizontal bone loss, grade 3 and grade 4 furcation in which compromised structure of teeth is there. Advanced defect with minimum periodontium, multiple adjacent defect, inadequate attached gingiva and advanced mobility of teeth. Factor affecting the outcome of guided tissue regeneration. Barrier independent factor are defect factor, poor plaque control, smoking, occlusal trauma, aggressive tooth brushing, inadequate zone of keratinized tissue. Inadequate tissue thickness, improper incision, traumatic flap management, excessive surgical time and inadequate closure of the flap. Barrier dependent factor. Inadequate adaptation, non-sterile technique, instability of barrier against root, premature exposure of barrier, premature loss or degradation of barrier. Important criteria in the design of guided tissue regeneration membrane. I will be explaining all the points in detail. Biocompatibility, cell occlusiveness should be there, tissue integration should be there, space making property should be there and clinical manageability should be there. What is biocompatible? What is biocompatible? The interaction between the membrane and the tissue must affect positively the surrounding tissue, leading to healing of defect. Space maintenance. A membrane must be stable enough to create space to facilitate bone formation. If we put the membrane, if we place the membrane, it should maintain the space for periodontal ligament and for other tissues to proliferate. So this is space maintenance. Occlusive. To prevent the ingrowth of soft tissue, occlusiveness means it should prevent the soft tissue into the regeneration site, but at the same time it allows the oxygen and fluid and bioactive substance from cell growth to reach the defect. Easy handling. A membrane should not be too stiff because it would not integrate with the tissues, or it should not be too malleable. Now classification based on the resorption potential. There are non-resorbable and resorbable membrane. In non-resorbable, there is polytetrafluoroethylene, titanium mesh and titanium reinforced polytetrafluoroethylene. In resorbable, various polymeric forms are there of collagen and polyglycolic acid. Classification of GTR on the basis of generation as given by Gottlob. First generation, cellulose acetate or millipore. Next is, apart from that, there are polytetrafluoroethylene, Gore-Tex titanium reinforced polytetrafluoroethylene, high density polytetrafluoroethylene and titanium mesh. In second generation, there are natural and synthetic. In natural, there are mostly made up of collagen, and in synthetic, there are polymer of polylactic and polyglycolic acids. In third generation, barrier membrane with antimicrobial activity. Barrier, it is further divided into A, B and C. First, it is with antimicrobial activity. The barrier membrane is incorporated with some antimicrobial agent. Next is barrier membrane with bioactive calcium phosphate, incorporated nano-sized hydroxyapatite particle or nano-carbonated hydroxyapatite. And in Next, barrier membrane with various growth factor. So this is the classification. It is easy to remember now. Guided tissue regeneration, first generation, non-degradable, cellulose and polytetrafluoroethylene, second generation, biodegradable, natural and synthetic. Under natural, collagen, synthetic, polymer of polylactic acid. In third generation, in this third generation, the membrane is incorporated with some growth factor or some other antimicrobial agent. Starting with non-resorbable membrane. The non-resorbable membranes are cellulose acetate filter, which is available in the market as Millipore, and polytetrafluoroethylene. It is available in various shapes: single tooth, narrow, single tooth, wide, wraparound and interproximal. Cellulose filter. Cellulose filter. Nyman and others conducted the initial study of use of cellulose filter in primate to exclude connective tissue and gingival epithelium and allowing cell from periodontal ligament to repopulate the wound. Polytetrafluoroethylene membrane. It is composed of matrix of polytetrafluoroethylene. It is inert, biocompatible, and the porous structure. It allows attachment of connective tissue for stabilization of healing wound, and it inhibits epithelial migration. Moreover, it is safe and effectively used in the regeneration area. This polytetrafluoroethylene membrane has two parts: coronal border and occlusive border. This is coronal border, which is lying near the surface of crown, and other part is occlusive portion. The collar may stop apical proliferation of epithelium, that is also known as contact inhibition. And occlusive portion, it prevents gingival tissue outside the barrier from interfacing with the healing process at the defect site. Now, various advantage of non-resorbable membrane are: they are space making ability, longer persistent in the site, and absence of membrane degradation. Disadvantage: it needs second surgical procedure to remove it, increased risk of loss of regenerated attachment owing to re-entry surgery, increased time, cost and morbidity for the patient. Second generation are resorbable membrane. They are designed to provide initial barrier function during the early stage of healing, that is minimum of 6 weeks. It is slowly resorbed over a period of time and it is replaced by periodontal ligament. Biodegradable membrane, they are of two types, natural and synthetic. Under natural, there are collagen and it is degraded by enzymatic degradation. And the polymer of polyglycolic acid, it is degraded by Krebs cycle. So, two types of resorbable membrane are natural, biomaterial, collagen, available in the market as BioGuide and Biomen. Synthetic polymer of polylactic and polyurethane, available in the market as Resolute, Atrosorb and Guidor. Desirable property of resorbable membrane: they are non-toxic, non-antigenic, acceptable handling properties, space maintenance property, adaptation to root surface, promote tissue coverage and reduce barrier exposure rate, promote flap attachment after surgery, resist bacterial seeding and contamination, promote selective cell repopulation. Advantage of resorbable barrier over non-resorbable barrier: elimination of second stage of surgery, reduce operating time, reduce cost, reduce treatment morbidity, increase patient compliance, reduce risk of loss of regenerated attachment. Collagen membrane. Collagen is macromolecule of periodontal tissue. Now, the property of collagen membrane are: they are chemotactic for fibroblast and they are also hemostatic. This material is also a weak immunogen and may act as a scaffold for the migration of cells. It has favorable effect on coagulation and wound healing. It has low antigenicity and extensibility, high tensile strength and fiber orientation. Collagen can also be produced in various forms like sheets, gels, tubes, powders and sponges. Collagen membranes that are used in perio, they are obtained from bovine and porcine. Mostly type 1 collagen is preferred and they are resolved over a period of 20 to 21 days by enzymatic degradation as they are made up of collagen. So they are cross-linked in order to increase the resorption time and to reduce their antigenicity, which can be achieved by gamma or ultraviolet radiation or by various chemical processes. Coming on to polylactic acid. It is a bioresorbable matrix barrier composed of blends of polylactic acid. Guidor was first resorbable barrier to be approved by Food and Drug Administration. This is a multi-layer matrix designed for ingrowth of connective tissue and preventing downgrowth of gingival tissues. Polylactic acid increases the strength of the membrane and polyglycolic acid improves the handling properties, and various commercially available membrane are Guidor, Vicryl, Atrisorb, Resolute and Epiguide that we will be discussing in detail. Before that, we should understand how they are degraded. Polylactic acid, as I have already told you, it is by the Krebs cycle or hydrolysis. The membrane is degraded and it takes 30 to 60 days. Now, commercially available polylactic acid blended with citric acid, Guidor. It's hydrophobic barrier. It is a hydrophobic barrier and it is bilayered structure. It is available with attached suture at the collar and it get degraded over a period of 3 months. Next is Vicryl and it is available as woven or knitted mesh. It has large pore size and degraded in 3 to 12 weeks. Atrisorb. Atrisorb is available in solution, prepared as solution. That's set to firm consistency when it comes in contact with the water or other aqueous solution. So it is provided in a syringe. So when this solution is placed in the defect, it's set over a period of time. It can be trimmed and adapted to the defect and no need of suturing is there. Medical grade calcium sulfate, also known as plaster of Paris, this barrier is placed over the graft. It stabilizes the clot and exclude undesirable tissue. More advantage is that it provides a source of calcium in the early mineralization process and aid particle retention. It is commercially available as Capset. Acellular dermal allograft. A relatively new type of bioresorbable grafting material is cellular human cadaver skin that can be obtained from tissue bank in the name of alloderm. This material is then deepithelized and decellularized in order to reduce the immunogenic potential. Advantages of second generation GTR: reduce operatory time, more tissue compatible, increase patient acceptance, elimination of several surgeries for barrier removal, reduce risk of loss of regenerated attachment owing to surgical re-entry. Disadvantage: high cost, instability of barrier, biodegradation rate cannot be controlled and lack of stiffness or collapse of membrane. Coming on to third generation guided tissue regeneration. They are resorbable membrane with added growth factor in order to improve the healing. It provides stimuli for cell to differentiate and synthesize extracellular matrix. First under this is with antimicrobial activity. In this, first is tetracycline. 25% doxycycline is incorporated in the membrane and it not only reduces the bacterial contamination by its antimicrobial activity, but other non-antimicrobial properties are also there, which include anticollagenolatic, anti-inflammatory, osteoclast inhibitory, fibroblast stimulatory property. Now, barrier membrane with bioactive calcium phosphate. It is added to improve membrane bioactivity and facilitate early cell differentiation. Barrier membrane with various growth factor. They influence tissue repair and disease because they promote angiogenesis, chemotaxis and cell proliferation. And various bioactive components added are platelet derived growth factor, insulin growth factor, fibroblast growth factor, bone morphogenetic protein and enamel matrix derivatives. Coming on to the recent advances in guided tissue regeneration, incorporation of hydrogel system is recently added in guided tissue regeneration membrane. It controls degradation behavior, sustained drug release and protein and cell adhesion properties. Coming on to autologous membrane, that means the membrane is obtained from the individual who require the one who needs the surgery. Platelet rich fibrin membrane, the blood sample is taken from the patient without adding anticoagulant in 10 ml tube, which is immediately centrifuged at the 3000 rpm for 10 minutes. The fibrin clot is then obtained in the middle of the tube and it contains rich source of platelet granule, and which is a good source of various growth factor. Advantage, it offers a pleasant alternate with very cost effectiveness. It is relatively safe because of autologous source. Now coming on to the clinical procedure, raise the mucoperiosteal flap, debride the osseous defect, trim the membrane. Apical border should extend 3 to 4 mm apical to the margin of defect and laterally 2 to 3 mm beyond the defect. Occlusal border should be placed 2 mm apical to cemento-enamel junction. And then sling suture is given to secure the membrane and it is covered with coronary advance flap, and after 4 to 6 weeks later membrane is exposed that can be removed by gentle tug, and if it is resolvable then no need of second surgery is there. This is the osseous defect. We have given the incision, done thorough scaling and root planning. After bone grafting, membrane is placed. We have tried to exclude the gingiva from underlying tissues, and this is how this procedure is done. Thank you so much.